Samuel Bateman pleaded not guilty to federal charges of tampering with evidence this week after being arrested a few weeks ago for transporting 3 young girls in an enclosed trailer. Samuel is the leader of a small polygamous group on the Arizona-Utah border. Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie,
Hello.
how's it going?
It's going great.
I hear you've been cooking a lot of soup.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we've cooled down.
Yeah,
And yeah,
good way.
it's all I want to cook. But I think honestly, it's
I
two
hear
thumbs
that.
up because I'm actually cooking, which this summer it's been ridiculous how little I've actually cooked in my own kitchen. So it's probably good.
Yeah, it is nice. I've been doing more cooking too, and it is nice to just be able to be home enough and for the weather to be cool enough.
Yeah,
I like it.
all of it.
I'm a
Yeah, me
fan
too.
as well. Well,
Yeah.
this is our Tuesday episode,
Yes.
and I think you're going to kick us off with some DNA for the win.
Yeah. It's yet again one of those DNA for the wins that's kind of a win.
Mm-hmm.
But Joette deserves to have her story told, so we're going to do it. So, this is the murder of Joette Marie Smith.
Mm.
This happened in California in 1983. She was 33 years old. I'll show you a quick picture of her. This is Joette. Joette
Okay.
owned a little bar restaurant kind of gigs called Buffalo Girls. In fact, it was described as like your grandmother's parlor. That's the way it was set up. Anyway, and it had gotten quite popular. She was really well known in her town and was just one of those people that's kind of everybody's friend, Everyone knew her
Mm-hmm.
name. And a few weeks before she died, she got uncomfortable and had told some of her friends and people close to her that she had started feeling like she was going to die young.
Oh.
She had actually given away some of her prized possessions. She'd been calling people she hadn't spoken to in a while just to check in and say hi and tell people that she loved them. And, they say sometimes you hear people say this about somebody that it seems like maybe in some part of them knew they were getting ready to depart. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems like in Joette's case that was true. But I'm sure she never expected this. Joette was found in the river
Mm-hmm.
or on the banks of a river. Sorry, she was 33. She had been uh, sexually assaulted and thrown in the river. I'm not sure if we actually know exactly how she died. Uh, but her body was bruised and cut and snagged by a tree near
Mm-hmm.
the San Lorenzo River on March 29th, 1983. So she had been killed 2 days prior. They figured she was killed in the middle of the night, that she'd met somebody on a bridge. And they had no idea. They interviewed a ton of people. There was just, she had no enemies. There hadn't been like outstanding crime in the area. They
Mm-hmm.
just did not know.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried for a while. They interviewed, like I said, a lot of people, but no tips, no suspects, nothing that really came through.
Mm-hmm.
In 1988, so 5 years later, they learned from a witness that there was a man by the last name of Drummond who had asked her for a date. And other in the restaurant, he'd approached her and asked her for a date, and she had said no. And people who knew him said that right after she died, he left town. And it just must have stuck in somebody's craw that seemed kind of weird
Mm-hmm.
because they actually did tell the police that. Well,
Hmm.
that's kind of where that ended at that time, at least for a while. But later down the road, they reopened her case, actually just earlier this year in 2022,
Mm.
and did her the DNA stuff, the really current trying to sort this out DNA stuff. And they were able to establish a profile for her killer. And it pointed back to this guy by the last name of Drummond.
Mm-hmm.
So the police went and talked to him, and he gave them a sample of his DNA.
Wow.
Yeah. And then went out and killed himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So the DNA matched. Interestingly, he already has been imprisoned in Nevada and another state. I can't remember which one. For sexual assault. So this was
Mm.
he had a long history of sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't in CODIS. He is now.
Mm.
But he's also deceased, so they didn't get to arrest him. But the police are saying that with surety that it was him, and they certainly had enough evidence to convict him at this point.
Wow.
So I'm sad for Joette's family that he went out like that before they could get true justice for her. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they at least know who killed her,
Yeah,
because in all of these cases, it turns people on each other just a little, you know.
for sure.
And I'm sure all of these years, people have just kind of suspected one person or another who was innocent, because it was this dude
I
who,
mean, how could you
right after
not?
this, he moved away. Hmm.
Wow.
Right, right, for sure.
People would
Yeah,
question, the people that they know and the people that knew them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sad.
yes,
But
it
he
is.
knew he was going to prison. So
Wow.
interesting, kind of a
That's
rock and a
sad.
hard place, right? They ask for a sample of your DNA. You say no and tell them to get a warrant, and that's definitely going to make you look very guilty.
Mm-hmm.
You say yes, knowing that you're guilty, you're kind of screwed either way.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah. Well, so there you have it. So I'm going to kick the mic back over to you for our main case.
Okay. So, in a story that you will probably find not particularly shocking, we're going to talk about Samuel Bateman. And this all went down just a couple of weeks ago. Samuel is known to be a leader of a small polygamous group that lives on the Arizona Utah line.
Hmm.
And he was originally a part of the FLDS, which is the Warren Jeffs sect.
Hmm.
He has spun off from that now and is leading his own, because these gross old men, like, they love nothing better than to argue about which of them is the real prophet.
Hmm.
But he brought a lot of attention to himself a few weeks ago when he was driving down the road with an enclosed trailer he was hauling behind him, and someone saw small fingers poking out, like between where the doors meet.
Oh my God.
And so someone called the police, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there are children in there. And so he was uh, pulled over and
Hmm.
arrested. There were three girls aged 11 to 14 in the covered trailer. They
Oh,
were they had a makeshift toilet and a couch and a couple of lawn chairs that they were.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That is so dangerous and scary.
it is. I can't imagine. Just
And also,
awful.
how many times has he done this, considering that he had a living room set up in there?
Right, right. Yes. And where was he taking them? Because he's now taken them across state lines. What's really going on?
Hmm.
So, a couple of things. I want to show you a couple of pictures. These don't show anyone's faces because these kids are minors,
Hmm.
but I want you to see, um, You may note the
Oh, yeah.
dresses
We
and the
see those
hairdo
around here. Yep.
all the time. I see women and young girls dressed
Mhm.
like this with this same hairstyle in the grocery store and in various places here in Idaho Falls all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Very clearly how polygamists dress. They make their own dresses,
Mhm.
and then they all have that same hairstyle.
Yep.
So he was arrested in Flagstaff, Arizona, charged with some state charges. He bonded out, and then the feds immediately arrested him. And
Mhm.
so they are working to build a case against him at this point. But the FBI has now raided his home in Colorado City, looking for more evidence, and of
Mhm.
course, ultimately, this is trafficking.
Mhm.
So we will likely see some trafficking charges for him. Fingers crossed. But I did want to tell you, this is so interesting to me. There's a man named Sam Brower,
Oh,
same
dear.
last name as ours, who has been investigating these groups.
Mhm.
He
Oh, well,
actually
then go Sam. Yes,
Yes,
okay.
yes. We are as well Browers, and we come from an
Polygamous.
ancestor who was a polygamist, and so it's very interesting to see someone investigating all of this with our same last name.
Mhm.
He has spent years investigating the FLDS and um, and also Bateman's group, because Bateman split off from the FLDS, and
Yeah.
he's been denounced by Warren Jeffs, which I would just kind of think is a compliment for most people.
Please, Warren,
But
me next.
yeah, because Jeff Warren Jeffs writes these revelations
Right.
to his followers while he's in prison, and he recently denounced this guy.
Oh,
But Sam Brower has been part of the actually appeared in the Netflix series called Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, that is about the
yeah.
Warren Jeffs sect.
Mhm.
His group has fewer than 100 people. He definitely is practicing plural marriage, although he is saying he's not,
Mhm.
whatever. We don't believe any of these people. But one of the
Right.
things he's done recently that has been, I think, terrifying is that he was communicating with someone in his sect from jail, and he
Mhm.
told them to delete all communications that were sent through this encrypted messaging system and to demand that all women and girls get their passports.
Oh my god.
So it makes me wonder, is he trying to move his people to Mexico or something?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
No, it
Yeah.
wouldn't. Child protection has gotten involved, and bunch of kids have been taken into care to protect them from whatever the
Good.
hell is going on here. So, there's going to be a lot more information about this case upcoming, but I do feel like it's really an important one for us to be aware of. One of the
Mhm.
things I think is super important to know is that just because Warren Jeffs is in prison doesn't mean that there aren't other wackadoodles doing this crap too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there are. We
Mhm.
live around some in our
Yep.
area, and there are many that have spun off from Warren Jeffs.
Mhm.
They're all over the place. These
Oh, yeah.
extreme conservative Mormon groups that are still practicing polygamy and child
Mhm.
marriage and all the
Yeah.
horrible shit that they do. It's still going on.
Oh, yeah.
We need to be aware of that.
Mhm.
Jailing Warren Jeffs really just, I don't know.
It's just a hydra. You just cut off one head and two more pop up.
Yes,
It's just yep.
because the men in
Well,
these groups absolutely believe in their superiority, and that
that's it.
everything that they want to do, God is telling them to do it,
Mhm.
and so they're very delusional in the fact that
Mhm.
anything that they think they want to do, oh yeah, God said that. That was a
Yep.
revelation.
Mhm.
That's a very real reality in these
Mhm.
groups. And the sort of posturing and renouncing one another and that kind of stuff, they just all do that, to
Yep.
create more drama around their situations.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just very glad these girls, were terrified, of course.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they were unharmed, as far as we know.
Great thinking to put their hands out.
Yes, so that someone would see their hands. But we don't know if these young girls were his relatives. We
Or
don't
where they
know
came from.
where he was trafficking them to,
Mhm.
but he was trafficking them
Yep.
and preparing his followers to leave the United States, obviously.
Yep.
So
Mm.
I find that terrifying. So, as always, see something, say something, because somebody did. Somebody saw a little kid's hands and went, oh,
Mhm.
holy shit, there are children in that.
Mhm.
Um, so glad that someone did
Yeah.
that. But we will keep talking about Samuel Bateman and what's
Mhm.
going on with him and keep you informed because I feel like we all need to be very aware of groups like this,
Yes.
especially when you live in the community. I cannot help but sort of the ones that live here sort of follow them around and try to hear what they're saying.
I
Must be terrible, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they're safe or their children are safe. Like
No.
it's very scary.
It is. It's very scary. It's awful. Yeah.
It is. And when they start moving kids like this, that's really scary.
Yeah.
So, the kids are in the state's care. He's in custody of the FBI, the feds, which is good. The fact that this will be a federal case is really, really important
Mhm.
because they can hold him to a lot more. And we'll see as it continues to roll out.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Katie, I'm going to kick
Okay.
the mic back to you for some weird crime time.
Yeah. Well, by now we all know the story of Casey White and Vicky White, and how Vicky White, as a jailer, fell in love with Casey White, an inmate, and we also know now that from the time that they fell in love to the time that they escaped, they had close to 1,000 phone calls.
Yeah.
They were having phone sex. We know.
Horrifying.
Yeah, and then of course we also know that in a attempt to flee from the police after they had escaped, Vicky White took her own life. We all know that story, right? But
We do.
did you know the story of the prison dog trainer who fell in love and smuggled her inmate out in a dog crate?
Oh my God. No, sure didn't.
Yes. Apparently, Lifetime adapted this story into a movie called Jailbreak Lovers that is out now.
Wow.
So Toby Dorr was a dog trainer who ended up setting up a program at a prison to help inmates to learn how to train dogs so that, they're great programs. They rehabilitate dogs that need rehabilitating. It's
Right.
really good for inmates to learn a trade and also to commune with animals. Like it all. These programs in prisons are by and large really successful and they're smart. They're great. But Toby was really struggling with herself. She was 47. She was really lonely. She'd been in a really loveless marriage, was
Mm,
feeling pretty lost and pretty confused and just unappreciated and, 47.
mhm.
And feeling 47, I think.
Sure.
So, John Maynard is a convicted felon who was 25,
Oh
so
boy.
quite a lot younger than her.
Mhm.
He became a part of her program. And one day he said to her, "What's going on in your life? You always seem so upset." And she felt
Mhm.
like that was the first time in a really long time that anybody gave a shit what was going on in her life. And they
Uh,
kind of became friends and started more of a
mm,
dialogue.
mhm.
And that went on. She'd also had thyroid cancer, she'd had a miscarriage. Her father was dying. Like she'd been through a lot. She had a lot going on. And 2 years after, that, he worked in her program for 2 years while he was in prison,
Mhm.
and then they formed a plan, and she snuck him out of the prison in a dog crate, and they went on the run.
Oh boy.
and they were on the run for 12 days before the police finally stopped them and arrested them.
Uh-huh.
And she went to prison.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she went to prison for I think about 2 years. It wasn't a super long time,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. And while she was in prison, this was a while ago. She's been out of prison since before 2009, so this was quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, while she was in prison, she started journaling a lot of all of her trauma from that last 47 years of life. In fact,
Uh-huh.
she said she was in prison for 27 months. She said that she filled a journal a month for 27 months.
Wow.
So she's been out of prison now for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's remarried now, and her life is much, much better than it was. And now she's building workbooks for other women in prison who are feeling completely lost and voiceless and unsure of who the hell they are, to try to help other women to rehabilitate and be able to come out of prison and be successful, and
Wow.
have new lives. So I- you got to really, I think, honor that in Toby, that she knows where she went wrong, and she obviously took her medicine, went to prison, served her time, and is
Mm-hmm.
now a grandmother. If you saw her on the street, you would never in a million years know
Well, just
that
looking
this
at the
woman
picture of her, no, you
and
you
that's a young
wouldn't.
picture. Yeah, that's a young picture. If you pictures of her now, especially, you'd look at her, you'd never know. But
No.
she took that time in prison to grow, and I think she's really benefited by it. But just, in the wake of the whole Casey uh, and Vicky White saga, I felt like this was an interesting case to share.
Yeah, very well, and at least in this, it was certainly a better outcome.
Yeah.
At least
Well,
she
yeah,
lived.
nobody died. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody.
I'm glad that she used it as a way to improve her life and to maybe help other
Mhm.
people. But
Yep.
holy crap, can you imagine your life being at such a bad place that you would want to do something like that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yikes.
for sure. Yeah, very sad. Yeah.
Hmm. All
So,
right.
there you go.
Well, that's been enough craziness, I think. This is our Tuesday episode. We'll be back tomorrow with another new episode. And then, so Wednesday is a big day this week because we have a new episode coming out. Then we have our case updates live stream at 7 p.m. Mountain. And then, right after case updates, is the cold read party, which
Yeah.
is one of our subscriptions on YouTube. If you want to attend that, you can bring us your favorite cold cases, and we'll do a read on them and tell you
Mhm.
what we think happened. So we have all of that coming up on Wednesday. So be sure to stay tuned for every bit of that.
And patrons, there is a brand new Patreon out as well.
Yes, yes. So check us out on Patreon. We're the True Crime Squad over there as well. And you know what? Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. That definitely helps us to grow. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Take care.